Well, guess what? There are now amazing new treatments for face fat restoration to soften that sort of angular, kind of the deflated look that we get as we age. Kind of, some people would say, the depleted aging look of the face, because it can be the single most important reason that a person looks, quote unquote, older. So this now all looks normal, because for some reason, those losing the fat, they don't even see that look.
This film is dedicated to Diane Keaton.
Yes.
I am curious why you think that this film embodies who she was as an artist, and what did you take away from her legacy that you want to carry on?
Diane Keaton not only defined an entire era of...
They don't see it. That natural loss of face volume that occurs over time. You've seen it in many celebrities and possibly on yourself. You can see in pictures like these, you just get a hollow below the malar prominence. Temporal hollowing, a lot of people don't think of that, but that's up in the temple. Also, along the jawline and the bony changes that occur that cause the downturned mouth, or that what we call melo-mental fold right here, turns in like that. The midface descent, and now for some, it's gradual, while others, it seems to happen this year. Or even, doc, it happened overnight. The number one cause, natural aging, and so we want volume restored. But how did we learn, and how did these new methods that I'm going to talk about today come into effect? I start to wonder what's in these drugs that affects the psyche, the body dysmorphic disorder.
The first day I took that medication, about 6 hours after I took that medication, I was no longer thinking about what am I going to eat? What am I going to eat for dinner? What am I going to eat Thursday?
You see that? So if you don't think there's a psychological effect, think again. It's now being well documented. What pushed companies to do it, and why were doctors pushed to come up with them? Well, another reason, the loss from filler dissolving.
So a month ago I had my tear trough filler dissolved just under my eyes here. So since having it done, I've not been feeling great about my face. I feel like my under eyes are very hollow. I've sort of lost definition on my cheeks here, and my eyes just look very sunken.
So she had her filler dissolved, and then we'll talk about it. Did it get rid of her own face fat? Did it get rid of the filler that was doing some good? Another reason, we have the loss from devices.
Morpheus 8, no woman should put on her face. I've seen results of women who have pockets of fat broken down. And I just want to say,
oh God,
be so aware when you're looking, because do they understand if a laser goes in, what's it burning, and will it create a hole in your subcutaneous fat?
A hole in your fat. Now understand, RF is radio frequency. It's not laser, but people put laser and RF together. We'll talk about it. But lasers typically don't cause facial fat loss, but RF energy can. We'll go into it. And yes, the FDA has even warned on these, and I'll detail that. But there's something else strange going on, because some people are desperately trying to get the fat out of their face, not into it. And it can look really good. What are you talking about, Rajani? Well, check out this transformation.
Money trees is the perfect place for shade, and that's just not.
Wow, that was amazing. Check out this one.
I said what I said. I'd rather be famous instead.
Looks amazing, right? So you see, it's not just about putting fat into faces. Some people are removing it. That's the confusion for many. Let's be honest. In those, the jawline was sharper, the cheeks were more defined, the face looked less heavy on both of them, and their natural bone structure is finely visible. Because not every bit of facial fat is automatically youthful. And this confuses everyone, because some people can't fathom that anyone actually wants fat loss in the face. But yes, we do have devices to remove it. And in Korea, where I spend a lot of time, there's even a microwave device. It's called Onda, and it is used to remove facial fat. And yes, those of us naturally aging, we're spending thousands of dollars trying to put it back in. Did you read this? Alloclae, the zombie filler trending in cosmetic surgery. Patients are seeking help from cadavers for these innovative fat transfers. Yep, synthetic fat, as some people call it, zombie fat. We'll talk about it in a bit because it is from cadavers. That means people who have passed on and donated their body to science. The science of what? Because it ends up here. We'll talk about it. Now, I did say gold rush.
How much did you make in your best month?
Around 140K that we took home. So that's why a lot of people want to start peptide companies, because the profit margins are ridiculous.
So there's a whole underworld, but you see why faces are deflating, and you see why these new treatments that I'm going to talk about today to restore facial fat were pushed to be manufactured. Now, if you aren't making millions on peptides, watch my last week's video. I covered it. The loss of temple volume, the loss of buccal area fat, the loss of cheeks. So as the temple's hollow, the buccal fat down here, it disappears and the cheeks deflate. The face then collapses in like a tent losing its support poles. Everything begins to fall inward and downward. I want you to see this visual animation on facial aging. You see, it's not just about wrinkles, what most people think. As you see here, the face naturally loses volume as we age. The fat pads shrink, they flatten, they descend. The muscle, very important, loses their support. So the muscles are supported and lubricated by the fat in the face, and they lose that. The muscles then start to act differently. Stay tuned for more in the future on that. We need to talk about face muscles in upcoming videos, but suddenly the face starts looking like IKEA before assembly. All the pieces are there, but nothing is holding itself up. But here's the part most people miss. Facial fat is not just padding, it's biologically active tissue. It interacts with and produces hormones. It mediates inflammation and face metabolism. There's metabolism not just going on in your body, but in your face and face fat. And the surrounding structures depend on it to look youthful. So when that volume disappears, as you just saw in that animation, you're not simply losing fullness, you're losing full support. And we all know what happens when hormones and structural support start declining. The face does not exactly send you a thank you card. In fact, everything upstairs starts relocating downstairs. Watch my complete videos on hormones if you need a refresher on those, and on estrogen for face fat and why this matters so much in aging. And sometimes it's the exact same person. First they contour the face, then they tighten it, then they dissolve that filler, and then, listen to this one,
the time has finally come. I'm getting my lips refilled today. I got my lips dissolved 2 weeks ago now, and let me tell you, it has been the longest 2 weeks of my life. I've never felt so ugly. I was hoping that the natural lips would grow on me, but nope.
So she had them filled, then dissolved them, and had the longest 2 weeks of her life because her lips weren't plumped anymore. Think about that. But dissolve, refill, and who knows, maybe dissolve again. But that's what creates the longest period of time for a lot of these people. People who dissolve filler often want their old face back because the filler was actually doing something good. Or was it? Here's what my friend Dr. Tali has to say.
Some doctors say your hyaluronic acid will come back. I'll tell you for a fact that that is an uncertain statement. You cannot know if the hyaluronic acid will ever come back, because I've operated on people who have had dissolver, and I know the natural thickness of the SMAS in different areas of the face because I'm always staring at it, always cutting it, always analyzing it. And people who have had dissolver before, sometimes even 4 or 5 years later, I've gone and made incisions for a lip lift or a facelift, and their SMAS is still thinner than it used to be. So some people never recover their hyaluronic that you dissolved. Some people do. You don't know who that's going to be.
So you see, there's some uncertainty. Thankfully, we have PRF and other treatments we'll talk about to help with that now. Keep in mind where he is though. Different parts of the country are different. He's in Beverly Hills, and some other geographical locales are like that too. Comment below though if you're seeing these kind of faces overfilled in your locale. You see faces like these. You can see the face gets a little overfilled and people get kind of carried away with it. It's what happens when the lips, the cheeks, the chin, the jawline, they all keep getting filled up. At first, each area is supposed to have its own landscape. The cheeks, the nose, the nasolabial folds, the chin, they're all defined. But eventually, they start blending all together, like a family reunion where nobody knows where one person ends and the next one begins. Worse yet, then Add hyaluronic acid, which a lot of these fillers are made of, and the filler loves water. So now the face is not just overfilled, it's marinating. And remember, you still have to move your face. You have to smile, talk, laugh, chew, and pretend you are surprised sometimes. That's when things can get especially bizarre. Movement. The cheeks push up, the lips push out. Duck-like, right? The chin joins the meeting because the filling the chin gives that great jawline projection. And suddenly the whole face is moving like an overstuffed waterbed trying to act natural. Won't happen. That's the problem. Good filler, it should restore anatomy. It should not look like your lips, cheeks, chin got upgraded to first class and now they're fighting over that armrest. They're fighting over space. And when it does dissolve more than what we want...
And some doctors even told me it was my mind, like if I was crazy.
Sometimes people are told that they're crazy by thinking dissolve their facial fat. Some are told they're imagining it because...
Are we able to target areas to dissolve?
No, there's no such thing as spot treating with Hylenex or hyaluronidase. It is a fluid. It gets injected and it eats away at all of the hyaluronic acid that is existing in that area. You cannot say, ooh, stop right there. Absolutely not. It is going to target the artificial hyaluronic acid that was injected in there and even some of your own tissue.
So we can dose it and you can lower the dose and you can target it a little bit, but it's a dispersant by nature, and that's the problem. It disperses through a lot of the tissues. Hyaluronidase is a dispersant. And here's one for you a lot of people don't know. Where does most dissolver used in the world come from? Bovine testicles, so cattle. Ovine testicles, so sheep. Just thought you should know that one. What about that new treatment, the cadaver fat you ask about? So there's Renuva and Alloclae, and soon to be something called Dermoclae. Those last two are from Tiger Aesthetics. Those are the two in this class used in the USA now, for the most part, because they asked the question, what if fat injections could be addressed using a ready-to-use product derived from donated human adipose tissue? So donated human fat tissue. Look here. Check this out. This is what it looks like. Do you see the amount of syringes of donated fat there? You saw all that, right? All that product is going in. And I know what you're thinking. Expensive, right? Well, you're correct. It's very, very expensive. Lasts how long? Because that's the number one question you guys ask with everything. Well, Renuva has published human follow-up showing retention through about 6 months, with the theory that remodeled tissue may last like your own fat after that. But we don't yet have robust 5 or 10 year clinical trials. Alloclae, on the other hand, is a much newer product to us. People are discussing 1 to 3 years maybe, but true long-term human durability data, well, they're not there yet. But no liposuction is needed with these. These products come ready to use, almost like reaching into the filler cabinet for a syringe of Restylane or Juvederm, except this is not hyaluronic acid gel. It's processed donor adipose tissue, in plain English, fat from deceased human donors, specially screened, processed, and prepared for injection. No harvesting fat from your abdomen, because that harvesting, removing fat from one place, like the inner thigh or the tummy, those are the two most common, that can leave a depression from where it was taken, a sunken look, a scar, so to speak. And some people care about their body too. They care about the way that looks. With this new category, there's no surgery to collect your own fat. That's the concept behind products like Renuva and Alloclae. Here's one take many people do share.
Let me not cap, right? I'm all here for beauty treatments that make me look younger, right? But to what end? I mean, these people have taken the thing too far. Hollywood stars are rumoured to be getting dead people's fat in their face to look younger. It sounded hella Frankensteinish. It's called Renuva. It's not Botox or a form of filler. This is donor fat tissue taken from another human, often after death, processed in the lab and injected into their own body so it grows new fat cells around it. And it's not cheap. It's like $2 to $5 grand a shot. That is not small change. The global filler market was worth over $5 billion last year and is set to reach nearly $9 billion by 2030. That's why investors and clinics are pushing Renuva as a luxury upgrade, because youth is the most expensive product you can sell and fear of aging is priceless. That is the business play, right? Every time medicine and beauty collide, profit moves faster than ethics, though. So you can imagine why people online would make comparisons to satanic science, to zombies, to death becomes her, even conspiracies about babies and war victims. I mean, Dubai allows it, America allows it, regulation lags behind money. So the real question is, are we really about to let human material become another luxury good? Or should governments draw the line before the beauty industry starts writing its own rules? It sounds crazy to me. What are your thoughts? Talk to me in the comments. Would you let a dead stranger's fat live in your face? And also, for those of you who don't believe in like anti-aging products, where do you stand here? Because you didn't even believe in the filler, man. This has gone left, hasn't it?
Gone left, hasn't it? And I know a lot of you feel that way as well. Comment below if you do. But interesting what she said about the commoditization of body parts for beauty. Essentially, that's what she was saying. So there is a lot of controversy around these. So they shouldn't be casually grouped together as facial fillers. Renuva, on one hand, it's an allograft adipose, so fat matrix, used to restore volume. It's made from donated human fat tissue and it's been processed to preserve the structural matrix. That's a key point, that matrix. The matrix acts as a framework onto which the patient's own cells and blood supply can then grow. The manufacturer, well, they list aesthetic applications that include cheeks, nasolabial folds, hands, and here it is, other areas where fat naturally exists. That's the open-ended part. This is a completely different concept from placing, say, a hyaluronic acid gel into the face. The goal isn't merely to occupy empty space temporarily like a filler. The goal is to place an adipose-derived framework into an area where fat normally belongs and allow the body to remodel around it over time. Now, let me talk about Alloclae. And I know you likely saw that it was FDA confiscated by the FDA itself from doctors' offices. In fact, doctors that I know. Where? In New York particularly. More on that later, but watch this. One of the hottest fillers in aesthetics was just seized. Yes, at the center of a major regulatory battle. But the first question is, would you even use dead people's fat to be injected into your face? Alloclae. 3 things just happened, and I'm still in Korea, but number 1, physicians have had product seized by the state. This was in New York. So that was the article on that. Alloclae is a donor-derived fat product again, but it's currently positioned as a structural adipose filler for body contouring. Think irregularities, cushioning, structural support, and volume in selected body areas, including, yes, many are using it in the breast area. Imagine no more breast implants. It's possible. Not something I would casually describe as the next under eye filler though. So its official positioning is for non-surgical body contouring, not routine facial injection. It's from Tiger Aesthetics. And as I mentioned in my short form videos, they do have plans for something called Dermaclae, and that will be similar and for the face. These products do represent a fascinating new direction. There's no doubt. Instead of asking, what synthetic gel can we use to fill this hole? The industry is asking, how can we restore tissue with something that closely resembles the tissue that was lost? That's a major philosophical shift, but it's also new territory. These are biologic tissue products. They require careful patient selection and careful placement, as you can imagine, a complete understanding of the product and the anatomy. And of course, always in aesthetics, realistic expectations. But the problem here is we don't know exactly what the expectations should be, and we still have a lot to learn. I think it's important to also note here where this all came from and the body acceptance stage where people were accepted to be overweight, even if it was unhealthy, and to know how we got here to the thin. There were a lot of celebrities like these where one day it was love your body and then, oh, I can change my body because we can, let's do it. And they became this. We never want to have wild weight swings if we can help it. But watch this clip.
Have you guys seen Lizzo talking about her body journey? If you haven't,
I'm still not perfect. I'll still mess up when I'm talking about things, or I have some toxic diet culture things that come in my brain. I just swat it away like a fly. I'm like, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. This is your body. You only get one of these. Enjoy her and let her enjoy you.
I thought this was really interesting because it's the first person I've seen in the public eye who has lost weight, but spoken about it with love for their body. They're not like on their old body. They're not like, it's like different, it's easier, it's whatever. Like, they're coming in, embracing herself then, embracing herself now. And I loved it. I loved the way she talked about it. What about you guys?
So that's one take on it, but at the end of the day, they wouldn't be embracing thin if these drugs and GLP-1s didn't exist to allow them to do it. It's convenient. It's only because Hollywood and influencers had the option of weight loss available. Did they really flip a switch and all of a sudden say thin is in? And it happened to be that Big Pharma was ready. Storm to change our bodies, change our faces, and profit on both sides. The areas where we often want fat reduction, we'll watch here. Because the most obvious area is underneath the chin, the submental. You can be thin, you can be fit, you can have a great face and still genetically store fat underneath the chin. So yes, we can remove it, but then we get an FDA warning like this. Okay, the FDA just called out RF microneedling, issued a warning. And I know many of you are either contemplating this procedure or you've already had it done and you're scared. Here's what they're not saying. So it's a nationwide warning on radiofrequency microneedling. The neck angle, it improves. The jawline becomes visible and the face may actually look younger, yes. But the FDA warns you, good and not good, because again, people are confused. It's all about who does it with these procedures, settings, and the quality of the device. Consultation, your consultation, it's gold here. The riskiest situation is that new provider that you just got assigned to when you walked into a clinic, because skin tightening and fat destruction are not the same goal. In fat loss, it's much easier to create it, to get fat loss, than it is to repair it. You can see here why the FDA issued this warning. It's people like this.
I've done Morpheus on my neck quite a few times a few years ago. I was left with grid marks, scars on my neck that have not gone away no matter what I've tried. I thought that I was seeing maybe tighter skin and everything was looking a little bit smoother. That was because I was inflamed and things were swollen in that area, because then those results went away. Essentially, all that Morpheus is doing is causing inflammation, which then will plump up the skin temporarily, and then you're left with scarring, permanent scarring. Morpheus claims that it's this amazing treatment and everybody is curious about it or is being sold on it. And I'm here to tell you that it's not what you think. Don't waste your money. I learned the hard way. There's no need to cause injury to skin and cause damage and inflammation. This is a misconception that people have, that in order to get results that you have to have a painful treatment. It's absolutely not true.
So you can see that's what led to the FDA warning about microneedling. It wasn't just Morpheus, but RF microneedling as a whole. So I don't want to just target them, but they are, and you'll know Morpheus 8 is probably the most popular. So a few more solutions with new products and approvals in their category, biostimulators. Now this is a category that's already much more established than the aforementioned that we talked about. The most recognizable example would be Sculptra. Sculptra is made from poly-L-lactic acid, PLLA. It doesn't simply act like a traditional gel that creates the final result immediately. These treatments stimulate a tissue response that encourages the patient to produce more collagen gradually. The result develops over weeks and months, not overnight. Sculptra, however, what's new? It's newly studied for the GLP-1 patient. And in fact, I presented some of this data in Las Vegas over the past year as more data came available on these. This product can be extremely useful for the patient whose face doesn't simply need a lump placed in one hollow, but needs broader structural support. Other biostimulatory options include calcium hydroxylapatite like Radiesse. When we used traditional Radiesse, we used it just straight up, but now we dilute it. Instead of contouring with the high G prime product, we dilute it more as a biostimulator. When it's appropriately diluted, it can be used more broadly to improve skin quality, say, stimulate collagen, rather than create that focused area of projection. So there's new studies available on that one too. Some people call it CAHA, calcium hydroxyl apatite. Then there are other collagen stimulators used internationally. Think PCL, polycaprolactone, something like Juvalook, which is PDLA. I even covered a Juvalook cafe on my last trip to Korea. Yes, they have a cafe for these kinds of treatments over there. And then there's longer lasting materials that vary by the market, by the part of the country you're in. But remember this, a biostimulator is not instant fat. It does not make poor technique irrelevant. These have to be very particularly placed. You need an expert to put these in. They don't simply dissolve or go away if there's a mistake.
Come with me to get my lips dissolved.
Yeah, you can't just go get it dissolved. Too much product, incorrect dilution, or poor placement, sometimes excessive treatment, just simply too much, it can still produce lumps, nodules, or irregularity and give you that unnatural look. The goal is controlled regeneration with these, not uncontrolled volume. By the way, who started all this dissolving?
I wouldn't want to say that I started a trend, but I do feel like I did start a bit of a trend with the sort of dissolving.
She did. Now, the most accepted and 2026 common one that I love procedure is PRF. It uses your own blood, the all-natural option. People know it as platelet-rich fibrin. Like I said, it begins with your own blood, so we draw the blood, we spin it down using a specific protocol, and we concentrate the platelets within a fibrin matrix that contains cellular signals involved in tissue repair. Your exosomes, your growth factors, your own mesenchymal stem cells from you. No donated fat, no synthetics, no high hyaluronic acid, synthetic man-made gel, no permanent plastic microspheres. Some people will use PMMA. That's kind of a plastic microsphere, although I like it. This totally comes from you, PRF. A side benefit from it, you get improved tissue quality and glow. Great for under-eye crepiness, fine hollowness, thin skin, early volume loss, and gradual support over time. Depending on how it's prepared, you can use it as a liquid or heated into a fibrin matrix like a thicker injectable filler form. So, which treatment is best? Donor-derived adipose matrix or a collagen biostimulator or PRF made from your own blood, all natural. Sometimes a topical cream like Volufiline. The answer is going to depend on what you actually lost, what your preference for zombie versus natural, two extremes, and what expectations you have for your money, for your risk tolerance. Some don't care about risk. Others want zero. Even doing nothing, no treatment, poses its own risks, as people will tell you. You'll now want to watch this video about the newest secret skin tightening treatment from my last trip to Korea and all about spicules down here. Keep your skin and body beautiful, healthy, and vibrant.